Coach, how's the voice?
Dan, my voice is surviving. Give it a couple days. I'm not going to be asked to sing the national anthem anytime soon, but it is awesome to be with you this morning.
When did you know that maybe you had something special with this team in the tournament?
Probably when we won 4 in Nashville to cut the nets down. We had to go through Missouri, South Carolina, Florida, and then Tennessee, and you could tell that these guys were fresh in March. Tom Davis was my mentor, Dan, and we always believed in playing 9 or 10 guys. It made for a healthier locker room. But what's really been interesting down the stretch is we're not tired. I got 2 players, my backcourt, Bryce Brown and Jared Harper, that played heavy minutes all year long. Those guys would have an excuse, but the rest of the guys shared. And so as a result, we're fresh here in April and still playing.
Yeah, and you know what? Coach Cal, John Calipari said prior to the game, hey, the last time we met doesn't have any impact on this time around. And it was really a smart coaching move on his part because he wanted to, say to his kids, hey, we might have blown them out. This is different. But I do think he really thought this is different. They weren't in sync. You had P.J. Washington. We weren't quite sure how healthy he was. And you got to have a style to be able to keep up with your pace there. And I'm sure that you got their attention with what you guys did to North Carolina. If somebody hasn't seen Auburn play, how would you describe it?
We're dangerous because we put 4 guys on the floor that if they can see it from 3, they can make it. And so you just never know when that's going to rise up and bite you. Cal's right. When we went to Lexington at the end of February and lost by 27, a couple things happened there. Number one, John told me after the game, he said, Coach, that's about as good as we can play. Yeah. And he meant it. And I think he knew going into this one, guys, we may not shoot it like we shot it last time. Because, Dan, we didn't play badly. And we didn't let that absolute we were dominated. We didn't let it define us. We didn't let it throw us off. That was the last game we lost, was late in the season at Kentucky. So the key is to not, we gave them the credit, and then we decide, okay, that's a Final Four team. We're not. Now, what do we need to do in this next month to try to see if we can make a run? And the kids have done everything that was required.
We're talking to Bruce Pearl, joining us, Continental Tire Coach's Corner. Continental Tire, proud to be the exclusive tire of the Dan Patrick Show. No matter where you drive, what you drive, how you drive, Continental has a tire for you.
Dan, Continental's my sponsor. Continental? Yeah. I'm on the Continental Coach's Corner. Continental's my sponsor, too. I'm telling you, man, I've got an old Cadillac Escalade. You remember one of those back in the day that with the rims and stuff like that? Like that was a Cat Daddy.
Wait,
car.
what year is it?
At least
what year is it?
I think it's like a 92.
What color?
It's tan, kind of a light tan.
You got white walls?
No, I don't have white walls. I got black walls, but they're Continentals and they're sweet, and I take great care of that baby.
What's the best car you ever owned?
First car was a 1972 Monte Carlo, and I paid for it with the money I made from shoveling snow, cutting grass, and working for the water department. And it was my first. Wasn't the first the best?
No. Mine was a 69 Volkswagen that had no floorboard in the back, so anybody who sat in the back seat, they had to have their legs up the entire time. It was like the Flintstones. You could, as you might expect, I didn't get a lot of girls.
No, there wasn't much happening in the back seat.
No,
sure.
There was not. No, there was not. What did you say to Chuma Kike when you came out? Now, he had been injured towards ACL. He's being wheeled out to the bench. You lean in to start the second half, and you say something, and everybody starts laughing. What did you say? Because it felt like it was one of those tense moments there that this poor guy's, season's over.
Well, all right. One of Chuma's teammates, Malik Dunbar, knows how to find the camera even better than his head coach, okay? And so Malik, asked me before the game, he says, Coach, can I wear Chuma's jersey in warm-ups? And, of course, my first reaction is, man, Malik, there you go. Nobody finds the camera better than you. Not how loving and touching a gesture it is, because it has nothing to do with that. Malik wants the camera. So, anyways, they wheeled Chuma out. And I said, Chuma, you are starting to act like Malik, wanting that camera all over you.
That's good.
And that's what got him to smile, because he's the last thing Chuma would want is the camera. Not because he can't handle it. It's just that he wants to give everybody else the credit. He's our most valuable player. He's our best player. Dan, he'd have been a late first rounder this year. And so one of the reasons why I was emotional after the game is because it's probably going to have to wait a year, and he'll be fine. He is a spectacular kid, a spectacular athlete. And I'm sorry, the country is not going to get to see him play because we're out there on the floor with Kansas and North Carolina, and he was the best player on the floor that nobody heard about.
I also worry about you on the sidelines, Coach. I don't know if you've ever been hooked up to a heart monitor, but I would be curious what your EKG looks like during a game, because there's at one moment in that Kentucky game where your sweat pouring off of you, you still got your tie tied all the way to the top, and it looks like you're trying to defend one of the Kentucky kids shooting a three.
Well, somebody has to get a hand up, okay? I mean, somebody has got to get a hand up,
Man,
okay?
I worry about you. I do.
You know, I appreciate that, my friend. Listen, I'm that way in practice. I'm that way for a Division II exhibition game, and I'm that way when we play Kentucky to go to the Final Four. So the kids never see anything different. Now, when we get off the floor, it shuts down. It's different, but we're going to get between those lines. Okay? Yeah. And they're going to start the clock. It's time. It's time. And that's how I want my teams to play. They got to be able to handle the coaching and handle the challenges that we put on them. And I'll be fine.
Most three-pointers made through the first four games of an NCAA tournament. This is all time. The 2001 Duke team, then the 2018 Villanova team, the 2019 Auburn team, only to be surpassed by this year's Purdue team with Carson Edwards. And you go back to the number one team shooting threes, 1990 Loyola Marymount. How would they be today, Coach, if Loyola Marymount was playing now with that style? Because they were so far, Paul Westhead was so far ahead of everybody with this.
Yep. Well, you know what? I remember Paul's teams very, very well. And you know, Tom Davis, Paul Westhead, those guys kind of grew up in the East. Actually, Tom was a Midwestern guy, but he coached at Lafayette, coached at Boston College, and coached against those guys. They were ahead of their time. They were innovators. And, you know, we've been shooting the three ball a long time. When I was at Tennessee, Chris Lofton, you know, became the all-time greatest three-point shooter until I came to Auburn. And then Bryce Brown, you know, maybe has surpassed him. So the inside three is the best play in basketball. The second best offensive play is the perimeter three. And so, listen, Kentucky did a great job of taking it away from us, and as a result, we had to get downhill and get to the rim. And Jared Harper, Bryce Brown made one-on-one plays in space to allow us to advance. Virginia will do the same thing, Dan. They are. I think they're I think teams shoot 29% from three against them. They've got length at almost every position. They got big, long guards. They'll switch out some, and we're going to have to hope we make some. But if we don't, we got to find another way to beat them.
You said this is back in the early part of the season. You just lost to Duke, and we had you on from Hawaii in the Maui Invitational, and you said they're beatable because I think people thought Duke's going to go undefeated. And you said, no, they're beatable, and they don't have a lot of depth. What we later found out is they didn't shoot well from the line, and they didn't shoot well from the three-point line. Is this a disappointing season at Duke?
You know, I'm a coach, and so I've got to give an answer from that perspective.
Okay.
You know, when you are a number one seed, when you win 30-something ball games, when you get to the Elite Eight, you know, we can't ever call that a disappointing season. The issue with the disappointment, Dan, is, again, taking advantage of the opportunities. when are we going to get guys like, Barrett and Cam Reddish and Zion Williamson, maybe 3 of the top 10 players, 2 of the top 5 players together again, and for those guys not to win a national championship. But I think we're seeing that more often than not. And you're seeing teams with the more experience, Texas Tech, a lot of seniors, Auburn, our guys have been here a while, Michigan State, when it comes right down to it, are able to win it at the end just because of, maybe it was unfinished business from the year before. Duke, those kids weren't together the year before. They hadn't come close sometimes. And you look at this. How many times did you come close to winning a championship, and then the next year you won it? And that's what experience brings, and that's something that they just don't have any of.
Do you know, off the top of your head, anybody more exciting in 1 year in college basketball than Zion Williamson? Not best. I'm talking about exciting. Has anybody been more exciting than Zion this year?
No. Maybe my first reaction was Sean Kemp back when he first played at Kentucky. You could just see what an incredible athlete he was. Zion was something. And, Dan, let me tell you something. The system is not broke, okay? Zion Williamson was a terrific athlete from Spartanburg, South Carolina, that hardly anybody knew about. He goes to Duke, and he's plays college basketball for 4 or 5 months, and now he is the number 1 player in the draft. He is going to be able to, obviously the endorsements and the contracts, we've gotten to know him a little bit more as a man, not just a player. Don't tell me that the time that he spent at Duke figuring out how to do it the right way, the training that he got, the exposure he got to those coaches, didn't help him be much more successful at the next level. And listen, I'm all for kids being able to go out of high school. I'm for the liberty and the freedoms of this country, absolutely. But there's nothing broke about our system having those kids come to college for a year, that kid is going to be part of Duke forever. He'll go to the NBA. He'll come back and get his degree. He'll bring his family back to those games, and he's got to connect. And he's much more ready now, on and off the court, to be able to handle the rigors of an NBA season. The men in the locker room, let him go be a boy for another year and learn how to be a man. And so I just think our system's not broke. People have made way too much about the ills of the one and done.
See you in Minneapolis, Coach. Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
It's Bruce Pearl, Continental Tire Coach's Corner. Got a lot of energy. But, man, I feel bad for that suit that he wears. Feels like he's going to burst right out of it. Continental Tire, the proud supporter of the Dan Patrick Show. For more information on Continental Tire, no matter what you drive, where you drive, how you drive, ContinentalTire.com.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.